Katy Perry is throwing massive shade at Hollywood after she moved from that horrible place to go live in Kentucky. And I have to say, you know, I respect it. And obviously there's a lot that I don't like about Katy Perry. And in fact, I don't really like anything about Katy Perry, but she is completely correct about this when she says, as you can see in the headline here, Hollywood is not America. And we're going to be getting into some of the other things that she says here because she does roast Hollywood in many ways, and that is very awesome to see. And even if she is a lunatic and she is kind of a nut job in some ways and stuff, I do think that Katy Perry at least is able to have some common sense to see that Hollywood is a pretty terrible place comparatively to a lot of the rest of the country. So let's go and get into this and see what she has to say here. She does expose some very interesting things about Hollywood, so let's get into this. Hollywood is not America. Katy Perry talks ditching LA bubble for Kentucky. Katy Perry is so happy she ditched Hollywood for Kentucky, especially while raising a family. So she was on the Chelsea Handler's podcast, and she's talked about that in this. So she said, I'm like living in Kentucky, and I have for almost a month now, and that's quite an amazing experience because it reminds you that Hollywood is not America, Perry said, according to Fox News. She went on to discuss how living in other parts of the country, especially more rural areas, help celebrities relate to the common folk, the peasants, as you will, which is very funny and indeed. And I do appreciate celebrities that are willing to, you know, live outside of Hollywood to, you know, live semi-normal lives among other people and stuff. And there are a list of celebrities that are like that and stuff, especially people like, you know, Chris Pratt. But yeah, but it's very interesting to hear that there are more of these types of individuals who are trying to get out of Hollywood. And honestly, that is just because LA, I think in a lot of ways, it has become a total dumpster fire in every way, shape, and form. LA is absolutely awful. Financially, economically, you know, morally, all of those things. LA is absolutely terrible. She went on to discuss how living in other parts of the country, especially more... Okay, so you need to remember that, Perry continued, because I think you can understand people better. So Handler replied and said, yeah, right, it's nice to get outside of what you know to be normal in your reality. And then Katy Perry replied and said, yeah, I mean, they're living in a bubble of sorts, talking about Hollywood. We're living in a bubble. Our bubbles are completely opposite, but it's interesting. So then Katy Perry continued, well, Chelsea Handler asked, you've been in different bubbles because you grew up in a bubble. You grew up super religious, and that's one bubble. Then you came into this industry, and that's another bubble, right? And I would argue that, you know, I absolutely 100% believe that wokeism is a religion, and I talk about that in, you know, very extensively in many different podcasts and shows and stuff. Wokeism actually totally is a religion. They have all of the key factors that make up a religion, and I think that has bled so much into Hollywood that Hollywood is kind of its own religion in some ways as well. So it's an anthropology study of humans, Perry replied. Perry called motherhood the best decision she's ever made in her entire life. Well, you know, good for her on that. The singer also shared how she and Orlando Bloom are in couples therapy to keep their marriage strong. Orlando and I do couples therapy, and we love it because it keeps us in tune, and the resentments can get really strong when you're both working hard. When you want to come back to being normal in a domesticated world where you have a child and stuff like that, you have to really learn how to be kind of different out there in the big and in the small. And so we've had a lot of success with that couples therapy. And that is, you know, I respect that. I really do. Now, this absolutely does not mean that I like Katy Perry at all. And in fact, I remember that when we were kind of, you know, dealing with all of the beer bug stuff, all of the COVID stuff or whatever, she made a pretty weird and dumb commercial about some of that stuff with Orlando Bloom, I believe it was, and it was just super cringe. And Katy Perry is very cringe to me, but I do agree with her here when she says that Hollywood is not America. It absolutely is not. In fact, Hollywood is working directly against the better interests of the American people in many ways. Hollywood hates freedom. They hate free speech. They hate all of our values. They hate the Second Amendment. They hate life. They want abortion for everyone all the way up until 9 months and even beyond in some cases. So Hollywood is absolutely terrible. They are evil, and I will not stop myself from ever saying that about Hollywood, because it is indeed true. So with that being said, let me know what you think about this in the comments below. What do you think about what Katy Perry is saying here in this article about Hollywood in general? Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll talk to you all in another video very soon.